and welcome to Zwift Live. This is our weekly community feature for the community racing scene. I'm Nathan Guerra, your host, and this week we are in with the Zwift Racing League, race number 2 in the third round of this season for January 21st. It's going to be a points race on Douce France. And we've got a couple of different sprint points. If you want to jump on into the racing, you can do so anytime. The team registration is over, but you can jump into the racing anytime. So make sure to go ahead and head over to WTRL.racing in order to jump in with the Zwift Racing League. We have take a quick look at the setup today for Douce France, and we'll be able to bring in our co-host, Mr. Dave Toll. Dave, it's great to see you. How you doing?
Good, good. I'm used to doing team time trials out here. So a points race is going to make things a lot more spicy than we're used to. A little pepper in your brie.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. We've got the 2 sprint points up front. The one that is going to be after the intestines, as we like to call them, and then the Aqueduct sprint. And then we've got that long, steady section with a whole lot of flowers heading on over to the finish line. Definitely pretty flat and going to be tactical for that finish line sprint. Going to be an interesting one. I think the timing, I've actually had a couple of coaching clients message me specifically about what is the timing like on this one, because I think it's going to be a tough one to measure.
Sure. The timing in what sense?
Just for the sprint specifically on the points race, you know, the timing coming on through each one of them, FAL, FTS on them. It's going to be interesting as to one of my suggestions when it comes to these sprints was to be they're just hard ones to time. Being in that top 3 to 4 riders, really, because they're these long, drawn-out slogs, was one of my suggestions.
Yeah, FAL and FTS are in play 4 different times out here. So definitely going to keep you on your toes. Absolutely different than what we're used to out here on this course. The points format's going to be interesting. It's only 25-ish K of racing. So it's going to be a lot of intensity. The cycle will be intense today.
Yeah, it definitely will. It looks like riders are jumping out on course. They will be hitting the intestines pretty quickly here. Let's go ahead and jump on down there and see how things are going to start playing out. We are in with our men's open racing here for the Open EMEA East North Division 1. Is what we're going to be in with as they do hit the intestines. And this is an interesting section, of course, Dave. Lots of winding, and you can lose wheels once in a while if you don't pay too much attention.
Yeah, kind of like the SCs, right? An interesting sector, of course, out here. Looks like everybody's locked in, though.
Yeah, it does. And we'll get a quick look at our standings here for the current EMEA East Northern A1 in just a second, as we're taking a look at Marco Gaspari at 160 beats per minute. It's always an interesting one as you have a points race. Where do you sit in the pack? How do you do this tactically to make sure that you're always positioned absolutely correctly as they make their way around here?
Yeah, unfortunately, Nathan, with the graphics, I'm unable to read anything, to tell you the truth. I know we had a little bit of a rough start this morning, but makes it a little bit challenging here.
We'll see if we
I apologize.
It's all good, Dave. I appreciate that feedback there. We'll get that fixed up as quickly as we possibly can. As the riders are looking to calm down, it looks like here as they make their way through the intestines here. And it's pretty slow, actually, at this point. Well, 50 kilometers per hour. It looked like it was slow, but I guess not. As 50 kilometers per hour is definitely not chilling. A few of the riders here maybe starting to lag up back just a tad.
Yeah, at the FTS and FAL points that we were talking about, Nathan, I don't ever really remember a race before where we had both FAL and FTS distributed so evenly throughout an event out here.
Downey on the move now. Andrew Downey coming out of Australia, 151 beats per minute, looking to make a little bit of a move, being covered very quickly by the Wahoo team. RWB now coming up and over the top, and then it's going to be the other Wahoo team. We've got the old boys and one other out here. We'll be seeing if it does change up a little bit as the riders make their way around here. O'Connor, Elton, Enox also there, looks like. Winker Riled coming around the corner as well. Jan Steinman looking to set up, it looks like here, and it's going to be West from RWB. Enox now on the move toward the front. Lemp is there as well. Enox now with it's going to be another move with Cisco looking to try and make that FAL move here at this point.
So this first point scoring opportunity coming. So obviously looking to see if anybody's loading up at the back to try to make a run. I mean, it's going to be tough with this group to pick up both FAL and FTS points. But I think that's what these guys here are doing.
Yeah, Spidal now from restart now to the front. Cisco. And again, this is part of the conversation with this is the difference, Dave, between a TTT and a points couldn't be much more different, could they? I mean, the reality between a TTT being just what's the tactics between the team, highest speed you can possibly get, versus these points race, especially on a flatter course like this, going to be all about high-powered outputs for very short periods of time versus what we usually see in those TTTs.
I can see one rider hitting out. Looks like this might be the spark that starts the fire.
That's going to be Downey now making a move. That is going to be restart on the move here. I think that's going to be coming over the top. Talent Frey as well on the move. And there's going to be off in the distance around the corner in just a moment. We're going to start to see that section for the sprint quite a ways out still at this point. And look at how that's starting to cause separation here, Dave. This separation is absolutely insane. This is going to cause a little bit of struggle for the sprinters, isn't it, Dave? That's kind of a cool, I like that tactic for those that might not be able to take that punch to the line. This definitely puts those sprinters on the back foot.
Yeah, this group of three with a small advantage. How far are they from the line here? Actually,
still quite a ways here at this point here. They're going to round the corner in just a moment. As Podsline now up and over the top. That's going to be Michael Podsline on the front. Podsline with restart right on the wheel. Michael Podsline, interesting enough, is that just a cover and kill move is going to be the question from Podsline as he puts out 320 watts, 45 kilometers per hour. Downey now back to the front again. These sacrifices from Downey over and over again. I don't know how this is going to play out for restart. I get the feeling that perhaps there's going to be a little bit of kicking themselves with the amount of effort they've thrown down here. I mean, it was a good tactic to try and maybe soften up the legs, but after it's covered and killed each and every time, what's going to be left in the wheels for a rider like Downey? Not exactly sure. RWB now to the front with onions. And here comes a kick from Cryo RDT, now making a last-ditch move here. And maybe Cryo RDT going to be able to make this happen with Stajner. Stajner with a big press over the front.
Well, let's see if he can hold on and pick up the maximum points here into the signage. That's a good sign with an advantage like this.
Yeah, and he's got a good, solid 100 meters. Yeah, I think he might be able to make this happen. There's
who is this?
Little punches. This is going to be Stajner. Stajner
From
that
which
is
team?
making this. He's coming from Cryo RDT.
Yeah.
And he's got the gap here now at this point.
We'll see if he can hold on and take. So this won't be for the FAL, but to be honest, this is for the FAL. The fastest through the segment points will be going to someone behind him, you would think. But he got out in front of this one, opening up a gap like this. Even if he doesn't hold on to take the top points, he's going to be right up on the podium here. This is the first point scoring opportunity in this 25 kilometers of racing here in France. The Ballon sprint. They're coming.
Not sure he's able to hold on. Michael
Who's
Podline
this,
here, though. Podsy on the
Oh, Michael
counter.
Podline here. He's got the horsepower. He'll make the catch, no doubt.
He's made the catch. This is interesting, though. There's a couple of riders coming on quickly. Will Podsy's make it to the line? It looks like Podsy's going to do it, though, just barely. RWB trying to get him, but not going to be happening. Michael Podline takes it down. Nicely done as they come on through. The next one up is going to be that Aqueduct sprint, but we've seen it from him time and time again, haven't we, Dave? Podline here making things happen for Wahoo today.
Yeah, he's been, if you've been following along on Zwift Live through the years, I would say the last couple of years he emerged on the main stage and has been truly an animator and dictator out here. Kind of guy you want on your team for sure.
I think looking here whether or not this is the counter move. Jan Steinman on the front. And if there are FAL, with the FAL that's out here, Martin Martins and Jan Steinman, that's a duel you definitely want to get involved with, isn't it, Dave? Jan Steinman here we're looking at.
No, absolutely. These are heavy hitters, no question. So that's Jan Steinman in the Wahoo kit. And then Cryo's Martin Mertens here. I mean, he's, in my mind, been consistently one of the top 10 esport athletes that we've had the pleasure of watching race. These two are going to absolutely upset the apple cart. So Jan Steinman, Martin Mertens here, two Germans rolling off the front. It is Podline here. Does he have a different flag than an American flag now?
No, Podsy does have Podsy at the back there. Is at the back there. It looks like Steinman, and now this is interesting because that's two different Wahoo teams, but I have a feeling they are going to work together a little bit, most likely. Cryo, though, not going to make the chase, but that makes things even more interesting because now you've got 3-up teams with a couple of riders in there that might have a little more motivation to make it for that FAL.
Yeah, this is the kind of breakaway that, I mean, we do have a long way to go in the perspective of how talented these guys are, though. Everybody who's not represented with a rider in this group has got to respond, you would think. You can't let this go clear, or if you do, I don't think you're racing with championship status in mind today. These three are going to be tough to bring back. Advantage going out. I mean, I'm starting to see what looks like double digits in seconds. So we're talking 10 seconds being gobbled up really quickly by this 3-rider group. The Aqueduct will be good for them, as it's really the only challenging sector on this course as far as terrain goes.
Poor Dave, I didn't know that I was going to be giving you a doctor's eye test today, Dave. I apologize. That's where I
can't see any. I'll be honest. It's a little tough to commentate on a race that you can't see. Yeah.
Well,
apologize.
Having some fun with it there as now West from RWB calming right on down on the front. I thought they were going to try and make this come back as Nigel was on the front there for just a moment. But the three of them, they're out of sight. Well, they might be out of mind at this point.
The reality of how good these guys are, representing 3 of the strongest teams in this league, I have a feeling this ship sailed, to tell you the truth. If these guys want to they don't even have to completely commit, even a light commitment to this breakaway with the talent that they have, they're going to be rolling here. Podline getting on just in time. That was savvy from him. Very heads up to recognize that Jan and Martin are as good as everybody in this race knows that these are 2 of the most talented esports athletes out there. But Podline is inserting himself into an interesting conversation here today. We haven't seen a 3-rider break attack this early and go clear. It's just really not the way the script is written generally for ZRL points races. I don't know that we've ever seen anything like this, to tell you the truth, Nathan, but it speaks to the strength of the 3 in this breakaway for sure. I think the Peloton's just letting them go. Honestly, if you weren't going to close that down immediately, you're going to watch a grass fire turn into a structure fire. You've now got a 3-alarm structure fire going on. Or you can just start racing into the next race, which is letting all these points go clear.
I think
Not
that's
ideal.
exactly what's going on
Yeah.
here. And that's a lot of FAL points, isn't it? I mean, massive amounts of
Especially
FAL
the way
points
it's
going up.
stacked. Right.
Yeah.
So I guess the FTS, I mean, you wouldn't think that these guys are going to take the FTS, but on the Aqueduct they could. And that's coming up right quickly here.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be Martin Mertens using that drafting power up. Steinman's going to be carrying it on through. Now, FAL matters here. There's a little bit of a battle for it. Podsy now, I think, is going to try and take it from the sister team here at this point. Little bit of a kick. There's another drafting power up. Up and over the top, it's going to be Steinman. Steinman. No. Podsy all the way to the line. Martin Mertens going to try and make it happen here. Who's it going to be? I think Podsy's going to take it. And this is only going to increase their gap.
Increasing the gap. I mean, there's going to be sprinting again behind them in 20 seconds or so. But this is interesting because now we're going to be looking. So you just watched 20, 19, and 18 points distributed amongst the breakaway. Now the rest of the points are coming across line. I'm curious who gets I mean, it's possible the breakaway takes the FTS, the fastest through the segment points there as well. I want to take a look and see. Yeah, maybe not, actually. It looks like they have brought it back down enough that they probably were quicker through the segment.
Yeah, they brought about 5 seconds back right there. So I have a feeling that was a pretty fast kick through that segment coming on.
What's the gap now between the break and the Peloton? How many seconds?
15 seconds.
Yeah.
At this point. 15
so they
seconds.
definitely would have got the FTS back in the Peloton then.
Yeah, I think that's the reality at this point is that the Peloton did get the FTS, but the FAL is still plenty of points. And now all the motivation in the world to continue on and take this away. And I'm looking at the front end with Philpott there. He's doing 7.6 watts per kilogram, but that's a jump to go across. Now, real quickly here, going back to Philpott. Interesting, though, with having a teammate up the road, Dave, this is Jamie Philpott. Would you suggest this? I would say settle down, buddy, if you want your teammate to stay away, is what I'd be saying in the team car.
Yeah, I would too, to tell you the truth. Probably just feeling a little bit of that. I've got great legs. These guys aren't really hitting hard enough, but the reality of this is the place to be right now, I would think, if you're going to try. I mean, the name of the game now is getting as many points for your team as you can. And the risk that you take trying to bridge across, going from group to group, station to station, is not worth it, to tell you. If you're feeling that good, go ahead and take care of business back in this group would be my thought if I was a director.
Another kick to the line, it looks like here. Interesting enough. And is that going to be an actual sprint point section here as we hit that Pave reverse now? And it is.
It is.
And
that was Pave sprint. And
nicely
it'd be interesting
done
to know how the first three guys took that on too, right? To see how they're battling for points, because again, there's not that much difference, is there, between 20 and 19 points when you're collecting them on the regular?
Yeah, Pave, again, I'm looking right now over at swiftpower.com. That's where I'm going to be able to get this on the preems. And Pod's line does take every single first over the line is going to Michael Pod's line. 1, 2, and 3. The balloon, the Pave, and the Aqueduct. The fastest times, though, Ewan Mackey taking down that balloon sprint. The Pave sprint is going to be going to... Wow, is Christopher Dawson in here? I didn't realize Christopher Dawson was in here, but I'm seeing his name on there. Nicely done. He's going to be in for one of the Wahoo teams. I'm going to double check which jersey he's in. And then Nico Peller took the Aqueduct reverse, actually, for the fastest time. But Pod's line just racking up the points for the FALs. Now it looks like things are really strung out as people are getting worried about what the final... It's no longer about FTS, is it, Dave, as we're going heading to the finish line?
Yeah, they made some changes in WTRL and ZRL racing where FTS was... I mean, it still makes a big difference, but it doesn't have quite the impact on your overall score as it used to. It's first across the line sprints that score deeper with more points. FTS is still a big part of success. I mean, if you're not, in the mix with FTS, you can't really quite do it on just the first across the line points really spicy.
Yeah,
It
they
looks
almost
like
caught those front three, and actually Philpott went across. Now you've got 4 up, and they're almost getting caught. They're trying to cause the separation still. That last sprint through the pave brought so much time back. They were able to leapfrog up to these 3. Now, will they get another sprint's going to be the question, but Philpott here now in the front just stringing things out.
what's impressive to me is that these 3 did not stay away. It speaks to the heart back in that Peloton for sure. That's some serious quality that went off of the front. So it speaks to the depth that we're looking at here in this league as we are hitting a reset button now. So Philpott knew what he was doing. Got to give him credit. Don't always need to listen to the backseat director.
Well, Michael Lind now taking over that at the front. It looks like Philpott going backwards as the catch is made. It was a nice effort.
I'm surprised it came back.
That looked absolutely insane, the effort there. But, I think there was a little bit of urgency that was different than what we saw earlier because everyone knows at this point it is about first across the line for the finish line versus those FTS. Let 3 go up the road. Let's focus in on the FTS. But now that we're talking about a finish line sprint without that FTS, it's going to be all about bringing things back, covering and killing to make sure you get that first across the line.
So it really is. I mean, the Aqueduct, the feature on the course out here today, Nathan, there's pretty much just a couple bumps that they hit along the way. So if you're in this group, I have a pretty strong feeling it's going to be an all-out field sprint here for the finale.
A Downey now to the front, chilling on out as it looks like another little bit of a move, though. Who's that going to be? Let me see if I can get some eyes on the front here. Another Wahoo rider actually making a move. It's going to be Voss, though, that's coming up off the front. Then it's going to be Otterly from Wahoo also making a little bit of a move, covering quickly by sister team. But ESRT is there. Lind is there from the Fusion team as well. 4 riders up. You can make little moves through here with these little undulations. There's kind of these little 1%, 2%, up, down, and that can cause a little bit of mayhem in the pack if you can use that speed differentiation, correct?
Who's the Wahoo rider up here now?
Otterly. It's going to be Gel Otterly coming out of
Right.
Norway.
And just a quick distance check here to the finish line. Let's see. Let's call it 25K of racing. And it looks like we should be coming up on 20K. Believe. There's another attack from Wahoo. Ghost, a 10% chance.
Oh, there's a go. Yeah, and Muff is using a ghost power up. You see that, Dave? There's a lid. There's an invisible rider on the front. Yeah, Muff on the front from Fusion, and he's got that Danish national champions kit. I didn't realize we had the Danish national champion jumping in here with the Red Sox. Loving that. Oxen from Fusion right on the wheel here. A little bit of separation. And this is the ups and downs I was talking about. You get these little bumps that you can kind of carry a ton of speed through. If you jump over the top of them, get some separation. Brandlin now covering cover. O'Connor's now coming through. Lots of riders trying to get on board with Muff.
Yeah, Oxen here has been one of the best sprinters across the board in the ZRL through the last few seasons. So he's your danger man, I would think, in this group. High quality group splitting off of the front into the finale. Oh, there we go. 6.8K to go. Boy, I am amazed, to tell you the truth. It shows you how aggressive these guys are. Racers make the race. And even though Douce France is not known as a volatile course, these riders are absolutely stirring the pot. There's an attack out of the breakaway right now. That's Torben Oxen is certainly one of the sprinters to keep your eye on here, as they are hightailing their way to the marina right now.
Look at that little bit of a split between the riders here. Brandlin now sitting back a little bit, trying to wonder if whether or not this is going to stick. Now already restart now back to the front. Is our restart on the move again, it looks like. Downey, this has been from the get-go. Downey has been nonstop trying to make something happen prior to FALs. Going into those FTSs, Downey has been the man.
Well, and he's got them all on their heels right now. But this is just an all-out Donnybrook today. I mean, when you take a look at this field, I'm impressed. To tell you the truth, Nathan, this is the kind of day where it wouldn't have been that hard, and I'm sure in some races it'll play out with the group just sprinting 4 different times and some riders going for FTS, but this has turned into a real throwdown here.
Yeah, looking at 5.6 kilometers to go. Plenty of distance to make a break happen yet at this point. Let's see if we can get a little bit of points distribution as we can get an idea of where things stand between the riders here at this point. We are seeing Cryo RDT actually with 127 points at the top. Wahoo Esports Hippos at a 101. Lots of points at the finish line still. Beast Mode presented by Rose, 96. Wahoo Esports Old Boys Club, they are struggling a little bit more today. The Hippos, see, and this is the thing. You got to name there like the Hippos. These guys are definitely going to be a team that are all about those kicks to the line, where the esports, the old boys, very successful when it comes to traditional first across the line type racing. But this is not that kind of racing out here today, Dave.
Yeah, the FTS has been, one of the things that makes this much more complex. Absolutely. Teams have much more on their plate as far as trying to plan out their tactics. This is just going to be a good old-fashioned sprint, it looks like to me.
Over the top, ESRT now trying to make a move, it looks like, as ESRT. That's going to be Brandlin again. Brandlin. This is a good pickup from ESRT, isn't it, with Brandlin? Old school Samuel. He's definitely been one of the riders we've seen from many years. Now on the move again. And he's a good representative here. ESRT. Lots of Swedish riders actually on that team. Making a move, but unable to make it stick. As Lynn now covers for that Fusion team. Beast Mode, though, presented by Rose. Now to the front. And cover and kill. A Wahoo Old Boys, it looks like, now on the move again. Who's that going to be? I have a feeling that might be Jan Steinman maybe making a move at the front. No, it's actually O'Connor now up and over the top. O'Connor now who's trying to make something happen at 6.6 watts per kilogram. Going to need a little bit more than that, though. Up into 10 probably. Well, they're sitting up, and this is where. Do I make a move? Do I go with that? Do I save? Because these legs are going to be stinging here at this point. It's been nothing but on from the get-go. Very difficult to try and stay involved. At the same time, cover and kill and still collect points. It's all about how much sacrifice, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, this is really where if you're a team that's got one of the best sprinters out here, it's not about that today. It's not about one rider getting the maximum points. It's about getting your team up in that rush to the finish. And, getting a 4th, a 6th, and an 8th is more valuable than getting a 1st and a 10th. And that's really different than the traditional race format. And that's something that these riders know well, is they're all going to be looking to try to have an imprint on this finale. But this is what you got to love. Some zig when others zag. And we've got a 4-rider group going clear. We're down to 3 kilometers of racing here. The points at the finish line, again, there's still FTS in play. But, Nathan, I honestly think now the only reason I might go for FTS is if I had that draft boost, the van, because that power up works extremely well for the FTS. And if you're not holding on to an aero boost, it's going to be really hard to get into the top 5 in this finish.
Yeah, look at the string out here. People are starting to think that this is going to work out as they come up from the top of this bridge with the pave on it. A little bit of a pull at the front. They're going to start sitting up. I have a feeling there might be enough involved. Almost every team is represented here. Restart have 2. That's a big upset, though, for the rest of the riders. They're going to sit right on up with that catch. A couple of more coming across. I see some invisibility going down. Downey maybe getting exactly what he was looking for. That breakaway situation. They've got a lot of distance here, Dave. I have a feeling this might work out. Still, others jumping across. People are getting worried at this point.
Boy, it's going to come down to the quality of the mix in the breakaway here. We're down to 2.2K of racing. There's still so much horsepower back in that second group. looking at, I don't think there's enough time for them to hold off the Peloton, but Nathan, racers make the race, and that's exactly what they're doing. And we got an attack going right through the middle of that group like a hot knife through butter. That's definitely going to be Wahoo as they're attacking out of the breakaway. The Fuga de la Fuga happening right now, Nathan. Wahoo's in good shape here now with 2 riders in this group.
Dawson comes. That was Chris Dawson. Chris Dawson jumped across, but now he sits up. He's sitting up this day. Somebody's got to continue to press here because they're going to come across. They're still letting a Fusion rider jump in. Well, that's a good situation for Dawson because Callum now comes to the front looking to set up Chris Dawson. Dawson has an amazing kick on him. Mountain biker by trade, one of the best esports riders in the world, though, as well. And it looks like Dawson sitting perfectly in that 6th wheel. Be on the watch out for him. I think he's getting a setup, but here comes Restart up over the top.
Man, Dawson, great point, Nathan. You don't have many riders who have the race resume that he does. It's going to have a big, big impact. Again, you got to love any team that's got 2. So Fusion with 2 up in here as well, I believe. We're taking a look at the rush to the finish. They're coming up on the red kite now really quickly. 1K to go. This group is all about FTS points, their place at the finish, as I think they recognize that charge coming from the Peloton is where the FAL points are going to be going. Left, right, center, things going on all over in Douce France, but this is it. We're locked and loaded. The finale is now.
Yeah, here we go. The kick is coming up and over the top now. Chris Dawson, a little late, I think, from Dawson. I don't know if he's going to be able to make this happen. I think it's going to be the ESRT rider. ESRT to the line, perhaps. Right to the line. It is ESRT. Take it down. Samuel Brandland makes it happen with the FAL. First across the line for Brandland. Podsy settling, I think, for second. We'll take a look at the results there in just a moment. What a kick from Brandland. Perfectly timed. He had the arrow power-up. That's what that was really all about there. This one is about timing. We were talking about it earlier, Dave. Timing is what this sprint is really all about.
And to be fair, little bit of luck never hurts in bike racing, right? And the way the power-ups work today, Aero and Van, those were Aero Boost and Draft Boost were pretty equal. Slightly better chance you'd have that Aero Boost. And then that 10% chance, and I got to say, the Ghost is going to be probably even less popular than the Burrito out here today, as it isn't going to have the impact. I mean, everybody was looking for that Aero Boost if you wanted points at the finish. You're right, timing.
Yeah, the Aero Boost, I mean, it's just, you can't get away from that one as far as it being one of the strongest that is out there. Taking a look real quickly here, this is going to be the replay as we come on in. And this kick to the line here.
I could just tell that, I mean, it looks like 2 restart riders right behind the cryo rider here. Just getting 2 into this group was basically the win of the day, as you're guaranteed the lion's share of points amongst the teams.
100%. Now, that arrow power-up, look at where it's thrown down by the rider on the top right, actually, of the screen. So, nicely done by him, but I think it's Brandland from the bottom left, or is he all the way at the back? Watch the poll.
Well, and it definitely, if you do have the Van, the Draft Boost, starting your sprint and using the surf, the momentum you're going to carry, that's the best you could do with that power up. And you could see riders realizing that. So positioning themselves as they came into this sprint, doing the best with what you have.
I got to highlight this real quickly here as far as the timing goes, real quick. Look at where Brandland is at the start of this. Before we even hit probably like 150 to the line. What do you think? 200 to the line, Dave? It's got to be like 150 to the line, maybe a little bit less.
Yeah, more like 150 for sure here.
Yeah, and look where he is with that arrow power up. And he ends up being first across the line. Look at that kick. Perfectly timed. Arrow power up. Probably uses it right up against the seconds he gets out of it too.
So kind of double dipping too. Arrow power up, and he's using the draft all the way through here. So when it got down to brass tacks, he perfectly played his power up, great positioning going into that sprint, and then he had the legs to back it up. Podzaline, though, Michael, probably the top point getting individual out here today. playing a huge role for his team.
Yeah,
He was up
well
there in
done.
every sprint.
Yeah, I think Podsline ended up with probably one of the top out there today as far as point scores.
Well, I
Really,
would
really
think
well
he's
done.
your top man.
And I think the Hippos were right up there too. We'll see if we can get something for the overall here as we jump in and get our results. Take what the top 10 were across the line as we look to try and
Huge
get this
training
going.
ride out there today in France, heading out like Tour Down Under, a Fondo, it looks like.
Well, this is going to be the results coming on through. Samuel Brandlin at the top. It's going to be Michael Podsline, second place for your top 10. See if I can get some points results coming on through in just a second. This is your top 10 for first across the line. Is Yelp for WB Esports there, followed up by Michael Stajner. It's going to be Chris Dawson. I thought we were going to be able to take that sprint. Actually, Callum O'Connor, Chris Dawson, for those old boys toward the back there. Andrew Downey, who was on the attack, continually coming out of Australia, is going to be taking seventh place. It's going to be Wood across the line there for eighth. Martin Lynn, followed up by Christian Grupp. 3.7 seconds back, probably was a part of the main pack as they made their way around course out there. Do we have an update on the main points is going to be the big question. And it looks like CryRDT on the totals from what I'm seeing, 530 points, followed up by the Old Boys for second. Beast Mode presented by Rose, and the points going to be taking third. It's going to be Racing Without Borders Elite, followed up by Restart presented by Alex Coe. Wahoo Esports Hippos scoring a lot of points. A lot of FAL. Look at that, 124, but the FTS very low for the Hippos. So you got a lot of FAL, nicely done, but I'm not seeing a whole lot of that FTS coming on through for them. Not unknown, SRT, ESRT. They get a big boost from that finish line at 255, but it's not going to be enough to challenge. And that's why this is a team sport, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the dynamics that you always keep in the back of your mind, because when you go into that rush for the finish, you start thinking about getting the outright win. But as I was saying in the middle part of the race, it's much more important to get your team as a unit up there in the top 10. And that looks like it's exactly what Cryo did. It's a very experienced team. They don't miss a trick.
No, they definitely don't. What a well put together situation there for the riders. And taking a look here as we real quickly, I'm going to bring in where things stood coming into the racing out here today, as they definitely had an interesting setup coming in for the EMEA North. Wahoo Esports Old Boys at 16 points. They're going to get a little bit of a hit. CryRDT, they were in third with 14 points. The Hippos as well going to take a little bit of a hit. I think this is a big boost for CryRDT, who were in third place. So I think that they may be able to bunny hop into first place with this result out there today. CryRDT with the show up. They put Martin Martins off the front, grabbed some FAL. Then they were able to really stack, though, somehow able to stack the points out there today with those FTS and those FAL. That's almost unexpected with the way the points played out. Racing Without Borders Elite, they're going to be, they were in fourth place, followed by Beast Mode and then Restart. So this is all going to get shuffled up as we make our way into race number. Go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say, parity is the thing that everyone's looking for. Great racing follows parity, and these guys should be in for a fantastic season here. If this is the way we're going to start with the first two races, remember when we started with the team time trial, it's going to be a great season of racing.
Definitely is. Real quickly, let's take a quick look here at what we've got coming up for next week, just as a quick little reminder to everybody. This is Zwift Racing League open all season. Next week is going to be race number 3. We are going to be on Road to Ruins Reverse. Going to be taking on that jungle next week. for a scratch race. Dave, quickly, a little bit of conversation about the Zwift Racing League for those that might be new. Always a different format they might be feeling like as they come into these streams, but it's actually on a rotation of 3 specific formats, followed up by the same 3 specific formats: the TTT, the points race, the scratch race, and then we restart it all again.
Yeah, in scratch racing, the simplest of all to understand. Basically, you have a start line and a finish line, and all of the points are awarded at that finish. So it'll be good old school throwdown next week for sure on a course that, yeah, tactics come into play at a very, very high level. So Road to Ruins Reverse will be a lot of fun next week.
Very
Simple, right? Scratch racing is truly like when you first start learning about bike racing, it's really what you think of, isn't it? A start line and a finish line.
Yeah, that course next week's definitely going to be an interesting one, though, as the climb over to the Road to Ruins, to that jungle, and then doing the actual jungle loop itself. Always a very difficult course, that's for sure. And we'll see how that ends up playing out next week. But still, in with this week, for those that are just tuning in, we are out on Douce France. We've got one lap. We just watched the men open take on the Douce France. We've got the ladies coming up here in just a moment. And as we do, we're going to take a quick little break. We'll be right back with you in about 5 minutes or so, as everybody just give us a few minutes as we get a reset for the ladies coming up in just a moment. Well, we're back with you, and we're going to do a full reset of our broadcast here. We got about 10 minutes for the women's racing to start with the Zwift Racing League. We are going to be in with the EMEA East Western Division 1, and I'm Nathan Guerra, your host out here today. We just covered the open men's racing just a moment ago, and it was definitely a barn burner. We've got a short one out here today, 25 kilometers in total. And I do have my co-host with me. We had a couple of technical difficulties out here today. Apologies on that, everybody. Dave, how's it going? Are you good to go? And are the image? Do I look clear to you, Dave? Is the big question.
No.
Well, that's
Sorry.
going to be a lot of fun. That's all good. That's great. Well, hopefully the viewers got me all right, though. But let's take a quick look at the Douce France one-lapper again as we jump in for the ladies racing. We got some of the biggest hitters that are about to take on this course. Dave, you want to talk a little bit about the specific points out on course and how a points race for the FAL does work out here in the FTS?
All right. So FTS and FAL, you'll hear those terms being dropped, and it's all about both out here today as we start out with 25K of racing. First thing to know as you go through the intestines, much like the SEs, it's a tricky sector, of course, on Zwift. You get a real feel for the physics in game, but then it gets real at the Ballon Sprint. This is 6.8K in. We'll be contesting the first across the line. That's top 20, FTS, which is the top 5. And then that's when we start distributing the points out here. The Aqueduct, many of you will remember that from team time trials. It's often one of the more challenging sectors. It'll be challenging out here today, but for a different reason, as a bit of an uphill sprint test for our riders. And obviously FAL and FTS coming into play again. That's at the Aqueduct at just around 11K in. And then we start heading to the finish line. The Pave Sprint comes up quickly, only 3K after you're contesting on the Aqueduct. They'll be looking for more points there before it's full tilt boogie to the Marina, where the finish points are waiting after, let's call it right at 24K of racing. So it's fast and furious out here in France today.
It definitely is. And in the men's race, we did see plenty of tacks early to try and grab those FALs. Now, interesting enough, I thought it was going to play out well for those teams that went for those FALs, but we saw how strong it was keeping a pack together and really giving everything you could for those FTS and those lesser FALs, actually. It's about... What's interesting is it's about carrying the whole team through, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, and that's always been what really one of the secret sauces that they serve up at WTRL is keeping everybody involved and in play. And, you know, we talk about every point matters, but it's true. At the end of the day, when we're sorting out on tallying all of the points, it often comes down to a handful of points that separate critical spots on the top 10. And that means that the riders, even in some cases, riders fighting back in that second group, have every reason to keep their eye on the prize. Makes it much more fun for the teams to have everybody playing their role out here.
Well, jumping in with the team league standings for the ladies, it is going to be Wahoo Esports Vitesse coming on through. They won last week. Crazy TTT that we saw last week, Dave. If you haven't watched that TTT from the ladies, what they pulled off was phenomenal. And they've unseated the Ionian Aces, who have been the dominant force in this EMEA divisions for quite a long time. That was quite the upset with that show up. But we have some world-class talent that's showing back up, don't we, Dave?
Yeah, that might have been, Nathan, the best team time trial competition that I've seen. It was part of the storyline was that Wahoo really had 4 riders for most of the race. Aeonian had their full squad of hitters, and boy, I think you still have to call that an upset, to tell you the truth, Nathan. Looking back on it, maybe not a huge upset with the quality of riders that Wahoo has, but it certainly was exciting racing. A lot to look forward to out here today. I mean, this is the first time I can remember Aeonian not leading in the ZRL for a couple of years, to tell you the truth. So this squad will now have a a battle on their hands. And it's not just Wahoo, the BL13 Rockets, Synergy, they've been incredibly strong as well.
Yeah, it's a good call there with the BL13. They're always sitting there ready. And Synergy Shred, don't count them out. One of the most energetic teams out there as well. Priority T are here. It's going to be Roca Corba Collective and the World Bicycle Relief. Good to see them showing up, Dave. It's been a while since we've seen World Bicycle Relief involved at any kind of top level of racing out on Zwift. So it's really great to see them here having a go at this as well today. So World Bicycle Relief in with 10 points in that 7th place out there today. 5 minutes to go to the start of the racing, and plenty of the top riders here joining in for these ladies right now. It's going to be interesting to see how they end up playing this one out. Is it going to be full tilt boogie from the get-go like we saw in the men's race, or is it going to be a little bit more chill waiting for those sections of course? It's always a little bit different racing, isn't it, out there between the two men's and the ladies? They tend to race it a little bit differently.
Yeah, I mean, and truly, to be fair, it's not even just really a men's or ladies thing to me, Nathan. Every race is different, like a chess match. Once you start moving pieces around on that board, how riders react and respond to situations, all of a sudden you end up with the unlimited number of possibilities and how the race could play out. But one thing's for sure is, and we've seen it time and time again, the women bring a spirit to the racing that makes it a lot of times just more fun to watch. It's more wide open, a lot more possible outcomes at play. And this day will definitely not disappoint. It's not a huge field, but this is a quality over quantity scenario that you're looking at. You've got some high talent or high level of talent here on the start line, getting ready to hit out in just a few minutes here.
Yeah, the level of talent. I mean, we've talked about that a little bit, haven't we, Dave? We're talking about world championship level talent. When you're talking about the fastest ladies in the world that race out on Zwift, we've got them lining up here today. I have a feeling that I had got a message actually saying that the Wahoo have shown up with a couple of teams out here again, and they're out here to dominate. Illy Gardner's on the start line, Joe Patterson, Laura Semnet Cramner. It's going to be Rachel Brown, Zoe Langham, Terry Bayless. This is all the Wahoo Esports crew. Allison Kerr, Danny Wilson, Emily Hillier. So they've shown up with full squads.
I have to say that Aeonian, a team that I've never heard anyone saying that they needed to bring in reinforcements, but they have. And it is two hitters that I'm seeing here. Cassie Nelson, the American out of Montana, who's a highly regarded road racer, and Alex Morris is racing. That might be a familiar name if you've been following along with the Zwift Academy. Alex Morris with the Canyon SRAM team.
Right, Dave.
And
Good call.
I have not seen her name racing in ZRL ever before. First time I've ever seen her lining up with Aeonian. This is a huge pickup. This is on the level of Los Adahaste racing. And she's not, to be clear, or is she? No. Today, Aeonian has Vicky Whitelaw.
It'd be a little bit of a like, whoa, that would be a big one.
That might be over the top, right? Leonie Harper, Daniela Estrate, Cassie Nelson, Ariel Verhaeren, and Alex Morris. So this is an A team for Aeonian here. If you're a fan of esports, buckle up. This is going to be a battle royale. Nathan, I mean, there's more and more names on this start list. This feels like a world. I mean, Leonie Dijkstra is racing today for Cryo. Natalie Stevenson is here. Rebecca Richardson on their squad. And that's Cryo I'm talking about. Don't forget I Race Like a Girl. They've got Amanda Wendorf racing today and Meredith Kessler. Kessler and Wendorf coming from a triathlon background. So this race will be fantastic. I feel like we could almost give our Zwift Live guarantee your money back if you don't enjoy it.
Well, we've talked a ton about the Aeonian versus the Wahoo situation. That's going to be one of the main conversations out here as we take a look at the Aeonian squad right now. Daniela Estrate just logging in. We're going to have to get her on that list as well, as she's just showing up, it looks like, to this multi-rider point of view that we've got up here. So definitely be on the watch out for them. For her, she's going to be tail gunning. She's one of the best riders that's out there. As when it comes to sprint points out there, she is definitely one to be on the watch out for, who knows how to tail gun and hit those timings absolutely perfect.
Yeah, and we'll see. I mean, do you play both sides of the coin? I think you have to if you want to win. I'm wondering, Nathan, I mean, do you designate riders to be your FTS point gatherers and others to go for the FAL? Do you just let the race play out? See who's where in the right place at the right time? Going to be very interesting.
Jumping in with Harper now as they're about to take off from the line. We'll get a good idea of how they kick, as Leone up into 5.9 watts per kilogram as they make their way out onto course. Illy Gardner there now from Wahoo as well, making her way forward. But it's all about just making sure you're not getting dropped from the initial kick. We do see one rider off the back a little bit here. Going to be just fine. I would be surprised if that was Daniela Estrate actually doing her usual, perhaps. Zoe Langham back to the back as well. It looks like Baker is there. So, definitely everyone just keeping it a little bit calm. It's going to be all Grupo Compacto, I think, until we hit those first sprint sections.
Yeah, and I think with the quality and depth of this field, Nathan, well, there you go. It looks like one rider is already going to stretch her legs a little bit here. I don't think this is attack. I think this is maybe just kind of finding our rhythm here in the first few 100 meters of racing. Ladies realize this is going to be a challenging 24K of racing. Zoe Langham in our field as well. It's really nice to welcome her back into the fold.
Yeah, great to see Zoe back. And there's a stride. You know when you see that Ionian rider at the back. Who is the Ionian? Is that going to be Vicky Whitelaw? Actually, no. It's got to be
Daniela Estrate.
Yeah, there she is, tail gunning, as we said. And
she's even getting her teammates to do it now.
Well, you know what's interesting, Dave? I was talking to a couple of riders about, where they learned their tactics. And riders even from other teams and riders that have just interacted with Daniela have said she knows the game so well. They've learned so much from her about how to interact with the game, even how to even think about interacting with the game, which was really interesting to hear that she was known amongst them. She doesn't just have the experiential knowledge and the ability to enact it, but also able to share it across the team to give everybody a really good idea of how to play out. And I mean, you see it time and again. If she were to do this and didn't get points, it'd be a different story, right? But she does this, and you're like, what is going on? Always in the same position, and then grabs those points almost every time.
Yeah, no, you cannot argue with her technique. She has proven that it works. Now, it works for her, and I think that I'm a fan. There is no doubt. Not everybody is up for this, because this is really a good example of trusting the process, too. She knows what she's doing, but she doesn't deviate from her plan. That's part of what makes it work for Daniela Estrate, is she's not wishy-washy. She doesn't do this for a while, and then you see her riding off the front attacking. Everything she does is with intention, and that's one of the best indicators of a quality bike racer, is whenever they're making a move, there's a reason for it. So Daniela Estrate, we call it tail gunning. I don't know if that's the best term in this world anymore, but what she's doing is planned. That's for sure. It's not like she's a rider struggling to hold the wheels here.
And it's super calm, a little bit different than what we saw across in the first race that we covered. And I think everybody's seen these ladies are savvy, Dave.
And part of it, this is respect. Yeah, exactly. Why waste a bullet for no reason at this point in the race? If you go to the front and try to animate, dictate, everybody here will be like, great, I'll be happy to sit in at whatever pace you want to wreck your legs at. That's fine with me. And ultimately, that is when you reach the highest level of racing, what we're witnessing from these women right now. This is world tour level esports racing, more or less, that you're looking at right now. So, yeah, when it gets intense, it is bananas. But when you're off the gas, you're off the gas. And that's kind of where we're at right now. This is a Sunday afternoon or Sunday morning cruise at this point, but they'll hit the gas at any moment. Really, the first action, as we talked about in the pre-show, coming up about 6K in, I would think. 24K of racing with 4 pinch points today, where we'll have FAL and FTS points being offered up. I'm excited to have Alex with us, Alex Morris here. That's a big name jumping into the ZRL.
Yeah, that's going to be, it's a great call out, Dave, because to be honest, I don't think, like you said, I've ever seen Alex Morris race a ZRL on, at least in one of our live streams, doing commentary on her.
And it's interesting, like Maddie LaRue used to race with us, but long before she was racing on the Canyon SRAM team, the South African would show up quite a bit, Nathan, in 2020 and 2021. And she is currently the Zwift. Well, the Zwift Academy is always working in a yearly cycle, and we're just about to have a new Zwift Academy winner, Alex, the most recent, and then, Maddie LaRue, the most recent, with Alex being right before her.
Well, it's a good pickup by Aeonian, bringing her to the table. They're in second place currently to that Wahoo team, and that's going to change things up a lot, I think, out here today. So Gem now to the front. Priority T on a little bit of a move, it looks like here. BL13, look at all the pink jerseys from BL13. Vanessa Murray there, sitting in the middle of the pack with that little check mark. We keep seeing the name Baker there from the World Bicycle Relief, though, setting up. We saw a change-up, though. Dave, is this going to be the change-up day? We saw it in the race before. Wahoo dominated last week in the TTT, but that does not mean you're going to dominate in a points race. And we've got the likes of Ariel Verhaeren. Morris, I think she's got a kick on her. Dave, things could really change up for Aeonian, I think, out here today, because they are such powerhouses when it comes to strong kicks to a line.
I would give the advantage based on, what you're talking about, Nathan. I want to dig a little bit deeper.
You got Zoe Langum in there, too, so.
I think that, but you've got Laura Simonich. Have we even mentioned Laura racing for Wahoo? That's another rider who was up there in the Zwift Academy. And, I'll put her up against Alex, kind of, like neutralizing each other. Ariel Verhaeren might be the best finisher that we have, actually, out here today, when you look through this star-packed list. But there's names like Louise Gamst we haven't even mentioned yet. Louise Gamst is another OG esports racer. Tremendous amount of experience on that BL13 team. They've got Victoria Reed, Vanessa Murray, Megan Anderson, and the mighty Lara Meyer on that BL13 team. I honestly think, Nathan, for the Wahoos out here or the Aeonians, BL13 is going to be a big part of this conversation. That's the team in pink that we're looking at. They might be the dream killers out here.
I would love to see it, to be honest. The reality of the underdogs showing up on a day, because I'm not to take anything away from them, but the pedigrees of the rest of the riders here when it comes to these racers, when it comes to Zwift racing specifically, the BL13 are still looking for some of those results up against this kind of a talent of the field. And speaking of Zwift Academy, we've got, as you said, Laura Simnich is here as well. Alex Morris. These are riders who have proved it both in real life and on Zwift. Talk about the perfect synergy of proving it. Looking for that pro contract. Pretty cool to see there. Now it looks like Aeonian still tail gunning and saving up as much energy as they can.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You can really use them as your indicator species in the ecosystem. When Aeonian starts moving to the front, the race is on. I think it's fair to say, because that will mean we're contesting at Ballon, the first point of conflict in this course, the first time that we have points being available. FAL and FTS are being thrown down. This group has a tremendous amount of respect for each other right now. Do you see them fanned out across the road? They're either pedal down on the floorboard or soft pedaling. It's truly what racing is. There's Harper. Look, the entire Aeonian team has gathered at the back. So what they're doing Nathan, is going for FTS and FAL. So the team is going to try to, if they can pull this off, it's a masterclass in esports racing. I hope that we're able to look at how this FTS plays out, because that's what they're doing, Nathan. They're lining this up to go for FTS and FAL today.
I just saw Daniela Estrate literally at 0 watts, I think for like 2 or 3 seconds there for a moment. Well, at the back of this pack. I mean,
the average wattage in this Peloton is at 2.2 right now. I mean, not to diss my mom, but I think she could probably keep up right now.
Yes, it is pretty chill here at this point, isn't it?
Now my mom's mad that she's been thrown under the bus.
Stewart here from Wahoo controlling the front, it looks like. As Bayless, it looks
that's
like
a controlled Peloton.
Oh, completely. Like nothing is happening. Now off in the distance, there's Scotty the Squirrel. That's it right there.
Scotty
We're
would
about
attack.
to hit. We're about to hit the section. Where's the Strate? That's the question. Where's Verhaeren? Are they going to start moving around? They're still at the back. This is all about lagging. Zoe Langham to the back as well. This is full FTS moment, just lagging at the back.
Only in esports do you see all of the top riders moving to the back, and that's exactly why. As we hit out with authority, BL13 is going to drop a bomb on the front, and it is on like Donkey Kong, ladies and gentlemen. I haven't seen them wait this far into it ever.
Verhaeren went all the way from the back, almost to the front, bringing in those crit legs. Did she take it down? I've got to double check that one.
I don't think she got the sprint, but she might be the top points getter on the aggregate, combining both FTS and FAL. I think that Verhaeren's your top rider there. I believe she was second in FAL, first across the line, and might have taken the FTS fastest through segment.
I get the feeling she probably took the FTS. There might have been somebody right on her wheel there. Oh, it was actually Grace Sargent from Roca. Grace Sargent from Roca took it down. I'm going to have to take a look at the replay for that
That's
one.
huge.
How did she do that up against Verhaeren?
Well, that's awesome. Roca Corba, I mean, that's a team we hadn't really mentioned in the pre-show, and a squad that's looking to make their mark, and they just did it out here. So things are going to change, Nathan. What we witnessed in the first quarter of this race, we're not going to see too much more of that, as it looks like riders starting to roll off of the front, looking to get a combine going.
Yeah, it's Eiley Gardner. Now, this is why Eiley wants, what does she want? She wants FAL. She doesn't want to go to the line with a sprint, right? She wants to get away, get some speed going, and get a rotation. She can't go with these big kicks when it comes to pure power, but she's got a good threshold and steady watts per kilogram that can get away on a course like this.
Yeah, Eiley Gardner is regarded as one of the best climbers coming out of the United Kingdom ever. She is a true threat. There's not much climbing on this course. If you look at the course profile, you do see the Aqueduct, but it's a lot more ominous when you see it in that form versus actually climbing. It's not a severe climb, but it is the one place on this course that you got a chance to stretch your legs if you fancy yourself to be a climber. So that's
Wasn't
Eiley.
Expecting this. This isn't something you almost never see, and if Estrate is going, you know it's a threat.
Okay, this is Daniela Estrate coming across, and Verhaeren now. Am I seeing that right?
Yes, that's 100% right. Aria Verhaeren, the Strate, covering Eiley Gardner. Is that a cover and kill, though? I think it is.
Well, so what happens now? So it's the reaction to this, because there's a bold move coming from Aeonian early in the race. They're a team that can back it up, but this now is going to poke the bear. BL13 has got to respond, and that means that they would start working with Wahoo a little bit at this point, I would think.
Oh, good point. We've got two major teams back there still involved. So Wahoo, they're not going to be down with this at all when it comes to too many teammates up ahead of Aeonian. So
it doesn't work for their game plan.
No, it doesn't.
And they've responded. So there you go. This is the action-reaction that you get from the Peloton. Aeonian, I can't imagine they thought that was going to play. But why not try?
Well, Roca Corba That is unexpected. We do have an attack coming out of the field here, actually, with an invisibility power-up. And that's going to be none other than Zoe Langham on the move. Nice move by Zoe Langham here. She gets a little bit of 8 watts per kilogram. Zoe Langham.
This will be fun.
Woo!
So okay. It feels like, Nathan, we haven't seen a field with this level of quality in a long time. Zoe Langham, welcome back to Big Time Esports Racing. After taking a short break, Zoe has had a very, very interesting last few years, some ups and some downs, but she's a fighter, that's for sure. And when I say downs, I mean, it's just life is tough. And even for someone like Zoe Langham, she's had to deal with things, but she's back and she's strong, and they might just have to let this go, Nathan, to tell you the truth. If she's taken this huge
11
chunk
seconds,
out of the
12
race,
seconds.
I mean, it's
like immediately.
So if they don't respond in the next 30 seconds to this, Zoe Langham is gone like a Babe Ruth home run.
We saw the double sprint, though. So real quickly, the double sprint, right? So we saw the kick over the top of the Aqueduct, followed up by the Pave sprint. It did put some damage, remember, into the break in the open men's race. So,
I'll be honest. Okay. But, I mean, she's going to take this out over 15 seconds
maybe
now.
even 20 seconds. Eiley now on the kick. Eiley's trying to come across, but they're not on the same team out here today. I got a message actually from Adam Thorpe. He said that he was de-essing out here today and that they were showing up with 2 teams just because they were like, well, we just want to race hard and we need everybody out there racing today. And they want to get their workout in, and so they put 2 teams out here today. So Eiley is chasing down Zoe at this point because they're not on the same team officially out here today. Eiley Gardner at 6.6 watts per kilogram. This might get a response from the pack because we see Lucy Doyle now making a little bit of a move, as well as Leah Sophie Ramnert. But, if she does come across, though, it might be a little bit of a benefit even to Zoe.
I mean, just look at the last 5 minutes of racing here. We had Aeonian rolling a couple riders off of the front. Then the counterattack comes, and when it came, it was with authority as Zoe Langham has lit a rocket out here. Eiley Gardner, let's see if Eiley's going to be able to get up and join her. It's still at 10 seconds, but I think my assessment will be correct. This is the race-winning move, folks.
Well, it's coming down to 22. Let's see what they get back here. Probably 5 seconds, maybe a little bit more over the top of here. But then Zoe with the continuance, it's going to be about how much speed she can carry on this downhill as compared
Zoe's
to the main
wait.
pack.
Zoe's waiting for Eiley now.
Oh, you might be right there, Dave. Now, Ariel,
she's backed way off.
Verhaeren, I think, taking that down with Aeonian as well. A lot of time going to be coming back here. Maybe that was just for the points. Maybe that's all that was. We'll see.
Well, if that was just for the points, she certainly overcooked it. I think that this has a wider ranging plan. This is for the finish. I truly think that right now she's recovering a little bit as she realizes that if it's going to work, having Eiley with her, and you got to think that they're on the same page of notes today as well. As you astutely noted, not racing for the same Wahoo team, but I have a feeling that there's some synergy between these two.
Well, that pack is coming back really quickly on this downhill, and this is such a tough one to stay away from. This is such a fast downhill that if you're in a pack, you can actually hit speeds where you don't have to do any work whatsoever. And Langham here doing 45 kilometers per hour, I think at this point, it's all in the bag for the main pack at this point because they're about to sprint and they're going to make that catch here, I think.
Who's really bringing this back there?
It looked like it was Cryo, honestly.
That's interesting that it's not Aeonian. Aeonian did not help bring that back at all, which is
they sat in. They just trusted, it seemed. It seemed they just trusted Eiley now over the top. Eiley just continues on. She says, look, I'm going for this FAL at least. That's a minimum. 6.4 watts per kilogram here from Eiley. I think she might be able to get it if she continues on. That pack has still got a few stragglers behind here from the Aqueduct. They're about to make the kick. They're onto the Pave, and she's into the sprint. I think Eiley takes the FAL at least.
Well, she made it it's certainly worth it, at least, to put that big effort. She's going to take the Lioness's share of points here, the FAL points. FTS, you would think, is going to go back to a rider who sat at the back, like one of the Aeonian
Langham's
riders.
kicking again. Langham's holding off the pack, Dave, behind for second.
Good for her. A lot of points here. It would have. So they double dip. They pick up Aqueduct points. They pick up points now.
That's massive from Langham. I can't believe she held off that pack. That was insane. She sits up, kind of rests up a little bit, doesn't really do anything, doesn't necessarily get caught. She's in no woman's land like forever, and then still makes a kick to make it across the line. What a move by Zoe Langham.
How big will the FTS points be for Aeonian here? That's going to be really interesting. These are two teams that are racing with diametrically opposed strategies today.
Yeah, it's true. Nope. Very different, isn't it, Dave? That is a really, really good point, how different this racing style is out here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Night and day. And you know what's interesting, Nathan? It's like watching, there's a lot of good examples of this, but different techniques to end up at the same place, which is on top of the podium, right? And
yeah, I'm looking
every
at
now and then, it's not going to be today, Nathan, but every now and then you get two monster squads or even three monster squads fighting for a win, and another team will sneak along and let those teams neutralize each other and take it. That's, kind of where the BL13 team or Cryo sits out here today, looking to find a break.
What's interesting, this is a rider I'm not very familiar with that took that, that's taken some FTS points. Chantal Bouet, coming out of...
With which team?
Belgium. I'm trying to get the information on it here because I've just seen her on the FTS. And Chantal, let me see if I can get some information on Chantal and what she's riding here. Oh, I'm sorry. This is actually one of the B category riders took the fastest time actually out there, and it's listing them because it was the fastest time that's in there. So that was actually from another interesting. It's over on ZP. I'm watching on Zwift Power. So apologies.
I was going to say, boy, that's weird. That
it would have been weird. Yeah. Me neither. And 12. I'm just going to shout it out because I already started talking about it.
Good for her.
5.62, almost a tenth of a second faster than Verhar. It doesn't interact with this race actually, as WTRL will separate that stuff out. But showing as the fastest time, little highlight for that B racer.
Good
Nicely
for her.
done.
Yeah.
Riding for Sports Solid actually is who she rides for. Let's take a quick look at some points here. We do have Aeonian 230. Well, this shows, Dave. I don't think we have the latest one through yet, and Wahoo have separated things out though a little bit, right? They've got two separate teams, so they would actually be up in the 150s if they had the teams together, perhaps, but they've got too many riders to do that. So Aeonian, the Aces, they're doing. Look, when it comes to team tactics in a sprint situation, you can't go past Aeonian 238. No. This is massive.
No, they're putting on a masterclass. But I would say, Nathan, credit where it's due for the Wahoo ladies. And I've always felt this way. Would you rather race and win in a not exciting event, or would you rather race, get second or third in a thrilling event? And I think any true sportsman would go for the B part of a thrilling event versus just another notch in a belt, another win. It's the quality and the spirit of the win that really matters. And I think that these ladies show us exactly that. They're here for a great race.
100%.
That's what Wahoo's doing, for sure.
It's the revenge, though, is what's happening here. It's the return now at this point. Or is it, what do we got? Do we got the Empire Strikes Back, or is this Return of the Jedi?
I guess if you're saying the Empire is Aeonian.
Yeah, the Empire is Aeonian. Right. It is. Yeah. It is the Empire Strikes Back. We're on episode, well, it would be episode 5, but anyways, we're in with Empire Strikes Back at this point with Aeonian, but Illy Gardner, she's striking off the front here at this point again because she doesn't want that sprint situation. It worked out for her almost every time so far. Will this be the same situation? But we've got big FAL points at the finish line, and it looks like BL13 are saying, no, we're chasing this down with Reed.
Here we go. BL13 in the mix. I mean, Gardner, Nathan, is a prototypical climber, world-class climber. But to be fair, she's an all-around superstar. And even though this isn't her speciality, she's going to be really hard to bring back. But it looks like the BL13, you're going to have to help me on that name, Nathan.
Victoria Reed.
Nice.
Reed.
Come on, Victoria. Scottish rider. In no woman's land right now. Boy.
Yeah,
it's
that's
funny.
got to be
This is
Ariel
not-
Verhaeren chasing her down with that black helmet. You can like always see that black helmet with the shades with Verhaeren. I love it.
Yeah, and I mean, to call her a cornerstone of the Aeonian program might even be an understatement. She's foundational for that team.
Well, now that they closed it down to Victoria, Gardner's still off the front. Munden's slowing down. Here comes a counter. Big counter. Estrate up and over the top. Looking to get involved with Eiley Gardner. 6, 7, 8, 9 watts per kilogram from Estrate Aeonian. Now looking to get involved.
The Romanian Express has left the station and picking up speed. Man, I tell you, there is something about the way Daniela Estrate races that has made me even to a bigger fan point here in 2025. This lady knows what it's all about. She's got Gardner in her sights. This is the Tête de la Course, the vanguard of the bike race. Even those cows can't believe it. This is a serious throwdown now.
Well, look behind the response from Sargent. Sargent now making a little bit of a move on the front here. Grace Sargent out of South Africa, but it's not going to be enough. It's only 3.2 watts per kilogram. 7 seconds up the road here. Is it going to keep on increasing? We'll have little bumps, ebb and flow, but now out to 8 seconds. Victoria Reed back to the front. Only 3.0 watts per kilogram as Eiley Gardner continues on 45 kilometers per hour on the 2% uphill grade. Now they're going to roll through with a little bit of speed. Is Estrate just going to sit on? Dave, Daniela Estrate is playing games.
She can sit on a Peloton. She can sit on one rider. Nobody drafts better than Daniela Estrate.
Well, tactically too, right? Like you
She's
put a rider
savvy.
up there and then you sit and the pack goes, well, it's neutralized because behind Aeonian's like, yeah, it's fine.
So
we'll win that sprint and we'll win this one too.
It's funny. I mean, if you're Eiley Gardner, you're like, well, are you going to pull through? And if you're Estrate, you're like, nah, I'm probably just going to attack you. That's going to be better for me. And that's exactly what Estrate is doing. She's not going to help. Nor should she.
The tactics here, Dave.
This is the highest level, folks. I mean, this is so fun to watch. Daniela Estrate has put on a master class. And Nathan, when you talk about efficiency, I mean, this is a woman who only works when it matters. And I think it's fun to watch. She doesn't waste 1 watt.
Rachel Brown at the front of the main pack.
Big
the
fan
main
of
pack
downtown.
at this point. Dave, the main pack at this point are doing like 1 watt per kilogram, literally. At point.
So this doesn't come back. I mean, now under 6K to go, unless they start trying to chase them back in the next K. It'll be because that advantage is going to go up over 25 seconds here. Possibly.
Yeah, and what's the motivations, right? Because BL13, Cryo, they're kind of looking at each other, right? They're kind of look.
I agree. We're only 2 races into this season, and already these teams seem to understand exactly what they're up against now. And I think that BL13, great point, Nathan. I really think that they're realizing, hey, we might be able to chase this back, but then Cryo's just going to come over the top and have a field day out here. So why do all the work for limited reward when we can sit back here and still get a top 3 team spot? Because with this going clear and the way things have sorted out now, it looks like Aeonian, Nathan, has played their cards right.
Yeah, and here's the thing. BL13 are in second place right now, and they don't want to take too much risk. They just need to beat Roca Corba.
Right.
They need to
So
beat
that's
Wahoo.
my point.
I mean, at this point, BL13 might put themselves in the second place, actually.
So Nathan, a lot of times in cycling, as you well know, by going above and beyond what's reasonable, which would be for BL13 to think that they can win today by chasing this break back. What they effectively do is take themselves out of second place and put themselves in fourth place, right? So it's a bird in the hand or two in the bush. Stick with the bird in hand right now.
I'm just processing birds in hands and bushes.
Stick with the cow in hand.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, no, I'm just messing with you there, Dave. Eiley Gardner continues. She's getting her threshold workout, it looks like. I think she's reserved herself to the reality that I have to do this at this point in order for me to get the maximum amount of points. This is the biggest payoff for her, right?
Absolutely, Nathan. I mean, for Eiley here, she either gets first or second, and the maximum points are at the finish line today. So she has done a huge job for her team. And in this case, neutralized Estrate. So this for both of these teams is just fine. And it doesn't make a huge difference if Eiley finishes second out here to Estrate. She still got way more points than she was going to get if she sat in and waited for a finish sprint with the Peloton, where, does she get a top 10 in that case? Probably not even. So she's going to get way more points for her team with this tactic here. This is a big win.
Talk a little bit about power-ups here, right? We've got draft, we've got arrow, we've got invisibility.
So invisibility at 10%, and then 50% for draft. And you really, unless you're going for FTS, it's going to be all about draft. Yeah. Excuse me, all about arrow.
About arrow, yeah. It's interesting here. The invisibility power is going to do nothing for these two, because if one goes, if there were
worst
invisibility,
power up ever
right?
in this scenario, right?
Because they disappeared, something's happening, so you better do something. Now I have used a fakey invisibility on someone though, where you go
and
invisible,
then force them to start chasing,
and then they think you're going, and you sit on their wheel, and then you jump over the top when you reappear. That's the situation.
The passive-aggressive power-up.
That's such a trickster move, seriously.
That's
how I would use
4D
this.
checkers at that point.
I mean, that's really the only move in this situation. Or then at that point, you could go 5D. Oh, Eiley's got a gap here. She's getting a little bit of something. Nice little move by Eiley here. 7 watts per kilogram, trying to break Estrate a little bit.
That's tough to do. I give her credit for trying, but probably have a better chance breaking King Kong than Daniela Estrate today, because you have to remember that Daniela Estrate's TSS is probably the low. Well, maybe not now after the work that she's been doing, bridging up to Eiley Gardner here, but up until that point, her TSS was the lowest on Zwift.
Look at that 0 watts per kilogram from Estrate just now. Look at that heart rate from Eiley. 197. That was a serious attack. Wow.
Heart rate like a parakeet.
You could. That's the interesting thing about that invisibility power. I know I'm going deep into this one, but the reality is you could use it and they could think, are they going? It's like no matter what, if you're the rider who's not using the invisibility power up, you just have to go. You have no choice.
It
right?
does create chaos.
Because it's are they going? Are they not going? What's actually happening here? They could be sitting on my wheel. You're just in complete control at that point.
Yeah, well, I think I play that one if I'm the rider having it done to me, would be just right down the middle, right? Like, I'm not going to go full chase mode, but I'm certainly not going to relax either.
Yeah. It's a tough one. Definitely a tough one.
It's a really interesting one. Actually, in a weird way, if you're the psychologically a rider who likes to play games, that's actually a fun power-up to have. I think I was throwing a lot of shade on the Ghost power-up, but...
Well, we'll see if somebody's got one, because they've got something. I didn't see any power-ups used by either of these riders to get in this position, so they've got one of the three at this point, and whoever's got the arrow... if Eiley has an arrow...
So let's say that you do know, they know that you've got the draft. Well, then you just don't start the sprint. Right? Wouldn't that be the tactic?
And the only thing that happens is if you go too late, you get beat. Eiley now says, forget that. 10 watts per kilogram. Big gap. 1.4 watts per kilo. Oh, man. 1.4 to go. She's got a gap. Astrate's trying to hold on, but Astrate's got more raw power, I think. Is she bringing it back? She does get back on turns. Up and out of the saddle.
And now
Eiley
she gets
now.
the draft. So now she gets the draft, Nathan. This is going to be advantage Astrate in a moment. Gardner still keeping her on the ropes. We're down to 1K to go. 1 to go here. This is going to be really interesting. So this is going to be
there's the draft
power up deployed.
Oh, draft power up. Is she going to come around? Is she going to come around? No, she's got to be smarter than that, right? And she's just going to sit in. She's going to sit in. She's sitting. Oh, this is, I mean, it doesn't get better than this, Dave. She's got
some charge on the battery right now.
Yeah, and now the kick, and it's going to be game over unless Eiley's got another kick.
Well, but Eiley's got to have the arrow power up.
Whoa, did she break her? She went late. She's going late. Eiley's going. No, here comes Astrate. Astrate's got this. Easy peasy across the line. Well done, Daniela Astrate.
Well done, Eiley Gardner, too, Nathan. You know, she took the most possible there. That was a great ride by both those ladies.
Who's off the front here? Natalie Stevenson? What?
Cryo.
Where did this come from? Well done, Stevenson. Gets the jump on everyone. We missed that one. Apologies to Natalie. She upsets the apple cart for third.
Good for her. Good for Cryo. The Scottish sensation Stevenson for third today.
What?
BL13.
Did BL13 take the pack sprint right there?
Well,
is that what that was?
What they did was took spots 5, 6, and 8, something like that. So that's going to be great for them in this battle. So, yeah, wow, this is going to be such a fun season. So Cryo gets Stevenson up there for third place points. But then that rush, we talked about it a couple times today, about getting a group of riders on your team inside the top 10. That's what BL13 did. So I don't know if we'll be able to get the points or not, but I think BL13 might have done just enough to hold on to that third place spot today.
Real quick look at the
It's easy to pull
here
for all of these teams. It really is. I mean, they all just have a great storyline going.
Seriously, it's so good. All the way to the line here. I thought Eiley had a little bit of a gap, but I mean, there was plenty of space, right?
There wasn't much she could do. To be honest, she was in a gunfight with a knife against Astrate there. So being able to hold on and take the second place points, monster points at the finish line. I mean, we saw it earlier in the men's race that it really did come down to who was there in the finale. The replay we're looking at now of the women coming in. That's Stevenson, who holds on for third.
Well done to Stevenson. Loving it here. Now, where did Ariel finish is what I want to know. She's usually one of the best sprinters out here. And BL13, though, showing up today in an amazing way, actually. See if I can get this real quickly here. I think
so Verhardt ends up in
there she is. Look at the arrow power up. You see that? Maybe just a little late. Hey?
Actually,
she's got the speed. Look at the speed. It's plenty there. I think she just went a little late.
So, Ariel Verhardt, then Nathan is going to end up probably 7th today. I'm going to think right in it, but look at Aeonian. See, that's the problem for the Wahoo ladies, is that Aeonian knows how to show up when it matters, and that's going to be enough. I don't need to see the results to know that Aeonian's going to be the top team today. So that's going to have us in a tie now, and watch, I'll be wrong. I deserve it for being so overconfident, but I'm estimating that we have a tie now at the top of the table between Wahoo and Aeonian.
I like this shot right here. I'm just highlighting it to show how close this is. And also, I think that's going to be Zoe Langum on the left-hand side there. She's usually one of the best sprinters on that Wahoo team. I don't think she nipped it there from the BL13 rider, but we'll have to double check here in just a second.
So that means BL13 getting 4th.
Yeah,
11th
and
and
that's
12th.
going to be Megan Anderson here. Here we go. I do have it here. There's Astrate, Eiley Gardner, Natalie Stevenson with that breakaway ride. What a move. As it's Megan Anderson from BL13 with the field sprint. What? That is.
Good job.
Where is this coming from? BL13 They were talking about in one of our interviews, Dave, that they've been doing the homework and they're showing up, aren't they?
They are. And shout out to Grace Sargent as well, the South African for Roca, ending up in 6th today. That's the best result that I've seen from her. So just getting better and better, Grace. Fantastic.
Yeah, Grace Sargent, and we saw that earlier with that first over the line actually from her at the balloon sprint. So
Yeah, she's going to be a player, no doubt.
so good to see. Arya Verhaar in 7th could be Leonie Hartmer, followed up by Cassie Nelson, and then Louise Gamps. But Dave, Aonian in your top 10. That's 4 of them, Dave.
And I mean, I think, Nathan, honestly, this is the best esports racing that you see. Historically, these women put on a show. You talked about it. You never know what you're going to get. But one thing's for sure, it's going to be high quality and a lot of fun. And looks like I was right.
Yeah, Ionian at the top, 508. Looks like BL13, though, coming through. Massive.
Well, we're missing. There's got to be a Wahoo team higher than.
Well, no, because they split. They split the team up today. They have the Grandier and they got the Vitesse. And because of that, what they would have had is up in the 300s, probably close to.
So we don't
300.
have a tie. So we don't. I mean, there's some interesting things on this results table. Roca Corba was 3rd today. That is a huge jump for them. And BL13 now moves into 2nd with Roca Corba beating Wahoo. That's going to move them. They were leading. They're going to move into 3rd now after 2 races of 6 here in the 3rd season of 24-25.
Yeah, and I think I'm looking at it here. Ionian Ace is now league points, 31 points in 1st. You're right. BL13 Rockets are in 2nd.
And it's
Wahoo
a 2-point differential.
Esport
right.
are currently in 3rd. Roca Corba in 4th. So it's a 2-point differentiation. You're right. Ionian Ace is BL13. Wahoo Esports, they put themselves a little bit on the back foot with the double up on the racers out here today.
It's funny, Nathan, because you'd think, oh, that's disappointing, but in a weird way, it's encouraging because what they're trying to do is make the race a more fulfilling process and enjoyable for everybody. So I'm going to give them credit for having the courage to not stack one team versus spreading their talent out. That's looking out for long-term healthy racing.
Yeah, I actually like it. I like it a lot.
I do too.
And, they sent me, the DS sent me a message saying that.
Now we have to make
Wahoo
Aonian
teams
split.
Racing. So, yeah.
Right.
Make things really interesting then. But Aonian now back at the top with a 2-point lead in the league. Well, everybody, that is our coverage out here today for the Zwift Racing League. Next week, we are going to be back on January 28th for a scratch race. That Road to Ruins, Dave, I'm excited for that one.
If you enjoyed this, it's only going to get better, to tell you the truth.
Actually,
Nathan.
thinking about that, I didn't realize. You're so right. That course with the punch up into the jungle.
Can
and
you
then
imagine?
The jungle, it's going to be so good.
And so watch out. I mean, please join us next week. The women's racing has just been off the hook. Scratch race. So just racing to the finish line. It's funny how the simpler you make it, the more dynamic the product in my mind.
100%. Well, that's going to be it for us out here today for the Zwift Racing League. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We're here every week for community racing on Tuesdays throughout the rest of the Zwift Racing League. From Dave, Toll, and I, thanks a lot, everybody, for joining in, and we'll see you next week. Zwift Racing League Scratch Race number 3. And as always, ride on.